They Live is a 1988 American science fiction action horror film starring Hot Rod Roddy Piper, Keith David, and Meg Foster. Written and directed by iconic director John Carpenter, the film is based on the 1963 short story 8 O'Clock in the Morning by Ray Nelson. The film follows a drifter who discovers through special sunglasses that the ruling class are aliens concealing their appearance and manipulating people to consume, breed, and conform via subliminal messages on everyday items and what an absolute banger of a movie this is going to be. Tonight, we're checking out John Carpenter's They Live, which is an absolutely brilliant movie. And it was just a fantastic opportunity to rewatch this film. It is so good. It had a budget of $3 million, and it made $13.4 million back at the box office in North America alone. Considered a flop, even though it made its money back and then some. Right, it's become a cult classic. Absolutely fantastic film. And on the panel tonight, we've got the Gourd King, Emperor J. Goodwin, and the Wayfarer Project. Good evening, guys. Hope you're all well.
Good evening.
Hello.
Hello there. You're looking very Hot Rod Roddy Piper in the kilt, Wayfarer.
Well, actually, I thought I'd dress up like Melvin Deeply tonight.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've got to thank Melvin deeply because I feel so honoured. We're now monetized on YouTube.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you. And today we received our very first super chat.
Oh.
The only problem is it was posted on the page before we came to air, so obviously we don't get to see it. So I thought I'd stick this up. Melvin Deeply, £10. Thank you, our first super chat. That means he gets an executive producer credit next week on next week's credits.
Right.
So thank you ever so much, Melvin. Really do appreciate it. Thank you for your support. Also, hello to everybody in the chat tonight. Let's just have a quick nosy at who's in there. Gap After Dark with an @ sign. If you know, you know. Rodent's in there. MC. Also Gordon, Jay, and us as well. Sword in the Storm. We've also got Destron Solar modding tonight. While Brian has a bit of a break. He's having the evening. I said to him, you're working too hard. Have the evening off. So he's just enjoying himself. Also to Manuel Grill as well. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. And I hope you enjoy this film as much as we do, because it is an absolute classic. It's one of those movies, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Gourd King, when was your first experience of John Carpenter's They Live?
Funny enough, I didn't catch this movie till probably about 2 or 3 years ago the first time. And I know the first time I watched it, I was kind of baffled by it because I was like, so much of this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Really?
I mean, like, it has some of the most, like it has a ton of, like, just overt plot holes, plot contrivances, and stuff like that. And I was like, what? I was like, this movie knows it's doing this. It has to be self-aware because it's just thumbing its nose at, like what we would consider, I guess, typically like good storytelling. And then the third time I watch it, because I just got done watching it again, it's so charming and fun and has so many fun one-liners, and Roddy Piper is so great in it that I was like, who freaking cares? I mean, I think this movie is completely self-aware of its nonsense. It's just there to have a good time. I mean, I don't know if I would call it a great movie, but it's a really fun one.
It is. And the thing is, what gets my attention most about this film, it's almost become like the script for the 21st century. It's modern day life. You know, they say art imitates life. Well, life's imitating art in this respect. Wayfarer, when did you first check out this flick?
Believe it or not, it was later in life in 2021. I was doing a little research on reality and the truth behind the world in which we live. And I think there's a lot to be taken from this movie. It's fun, but there's also some serious things in there that can can relate to a lot of things in the world. I don't want to get too deep into it. Want to just enjoy tonight, but
We can rabbit
Yeah.
hole later if you wish. We can all.
All right.
We haven't done a tangent in a hell of a long time, so maybe
All
we're long
right.
overdue.
But I will
Jay,
say, oh, I'm sorry, but you were right. Roddy Piper was my favorite wrestler when I was growing up.
really, he
Yep.
was good. Yeah, for a time I was a big fan of the Big Boss Man, and then I sort of flip flop between him and Roddy Piper, and what a fantastic wrestler! And the thing is, he transitioned into Hollywood before pretty much, well, apart from Hulk Hogan, he was pretty much the second one to transition into Hollywood, and he did it so under the radar, and he was so underutilized by Hollywood. Because he was fantastic in this.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like he wasn't trying to act at
actor.
all.
I
He was just very natural and it flowed, and you can tell he had fun making this film.
I can't wait till we get to the scene, and
Yeah.
everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
All 5 minutes and 23 seconds of it, if it's the scene that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
What a scene. Jay, when was your first trip down John Carpenter's rabbit hole for modern day life?
Oh my. So I think it was 89 when it came out on VHS, and I saw it, rented it, and it was like I was the only person that knew this existed, like amongst my friends. So I just started evangelizing this movie.
Again, it's if you know, you know.
Yeah, and I wanted them to know. And the thing that struck me was, there's the conceit of the movie, and the central conceit is interesting. The execution was what really jumped out at me, because you could tell that Carpenter was working on a low budget, and he was being really smart with how he did it. The idea that you just wear sunglasses, not some magic space stuff or whatever, right? And that the real world is black and white, because why not? It's cheaper. And then all the subliminal stuff, right? It's just the cleverness of the way that he does it, because there is like one really good effects shot, and so he saves it up for that, but everything else is done again in a very budget oriented but doesn't look cheap kind of way. And then on a surface level, it's a great kind of action movie. Guy stumbles onto something, and then here we go. It has some of the best one-liners you're gonna have in moviedom.
Do you know what my favorite one-liner is in this film?
There goes that idiot licking his nuts again.
No. Hey, baby, what's wrong?
Yeah, hey, baby, what's wrong?
Thank you to Flav in the chat. He's given the channel a super chat. Our second one of the night. He's given us £10. Gents and Trev, super chat's unlocked. Oh my.
Oh my.
I got to do it in the style of George Takei. Not Takei. It's Tacky. Because he's very tacky these days, isn't he? Oh my. I know. My career didn't take off, so I tell you what, I'll blame all my issues and problems and blame them all on Shatner. Which he does, really. He does. He blames everything. If it's raining, he's having a barbecue with his husband and it's raining. It's Shatner's fault.
Yeah.
Shatner.
He shat on us today.
Oh my!
Actually, my the failure of my movie career was because of George Takei's gayness. That was what really held me back.
Yeah. So, just great movies tonight. They Live. Chat. Do you love this? Is it a classic in your book? And something I found quite interesting about this film, if you look on that bar, right on the bar. Let me just get rid of that. It's not doing as it's told. Try again. There we go. What it says on the hot sauce, it says obey. You've got to obey the hot sauce.
Yes.
I like that.
Don't argue with hot sauce.
No, definitely not.
If Hot Ones were smart, they would invite John Carpenter on, and that's what they would put on their hot sauces.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
But like you say, the one-liners, the one that sticks in my head is the one at the very end. Hey, baby, what's wrong?
Hey, baby, what's wrong?
And he says it in such a pimp way.
Yeah.
He's a pimp from another planet. And he's
Sure,
just,
I was thinking they thought we were ugly.
yeah.
Apparently not too ugly.
Well, the guy
I know
in the
other one
makeup.
is
Go on.
the producer when he's like, Gloria, you look
You
like
look like
shit.
shit. Yeah. The way he does it, it's just done in such a. It's like it's not trying to be comedic, but that's what makes it twice as funny.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
the delivery in the way that he does it. Interesting little snippet factoid. The guy who's the ghoul at the end, and he's just listed as ghoul, is Jeff Imada, who did a load of the stunts in Big Trouble in Little China for John Carpenter.
Oh, really?
There we go. Factoid for the night. And let's get on with the slide, shall we? Are you ready? Here we go. John Carpenter's They Live. I went deep doing the thumbnail for this. I looked up what the font was for John Carpenter's name. That's how far I went to make a good thumbnail for this week. Hopefully, I pulled it off. But cracking film.
That's nice.
I like how the train's going past.
Yeah.
And it covers the title up.
Yep.
And they paid a good amount of money for that shot, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
They
What,
had to pay
for the train?
Yeah. I think they had to pay something like $15,000, and they had to do it twice. Yeah.
Yeah, they had to shoot it twice.
Oh, wow. That is a great factoid. I love that. So let's crack on. Here we go. This is John Nada. And I love that name, John Nothing.
He got nothing.
And he's actually, I think in the credits, he's only listed as Nada.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So he's kind of a drifter, but he's not. He's just going from place to place just to earn a living and send some money back home. Just like Frank does. We'll get to Frank a little bit later on, and he's just constantly on the move all the time. And to say this is L.A., Roddy Piper's made it look like downtown Toronto. It's weird.
Yeah, it's amazing that way.
Well.
But it's so bleak, and it's funny. The first half of this film is very downbeat, very bleak. It's beyond dystopian. It's like haves and have-nots. And this scene, it always interested me. I just hold on one second, Jay.
Yeah.
This scene always interested me because he's like in the employment center and giving all the details to this lady, and it makes me think: if he had the glasses on, would she be a ghoul?
Probably either that or a human that's working with them. But I love she could not care less.
I
She
know.
is. Oh my gosh, it is hilarious.
She's just
her
so full of
reactions.
screw you, isn't she? She's
But the thing, watching this again, I mean, I've watched this probably twice a year just because I love the movie so much. But the thing that strikes me is that if this movie came out today, everybody would accuse it of being woke.
Yes.
And to be fair, it was. Carpenter was not happy with Reagan and him being elected, and this was very much his critique of that. But he demonstrated that you don't have to like beat people over the head with and I don't like this guy and I don't like that guy, right? It's these things are happening, but he shows that there's another thing behind it, right? It's not telling you the politics. He's kind of demonstrating it, and then has this kind of undermining thing with these aliens being in charge. But it's certainly reflective of how he saw the 80s.
interesting. Just an interesting aside here. The rodent says, and we're talking about great one-liners. You're okay, but you real fucking ugly.
Oh yeah.
That's probably my favorite line.
Yeah. Your head looks like it fell in the cheese dip back in 1957.
Now,
By the way,
Get out! So call the cops. Cops, what you need is a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
Now, as someone that leans towards the free market philosophy, economically speaking, I still enjoy this film because one thing the free market does is it basically puts a big, clear mirror in front of you saying, all right, what are you going to do with it? And that's where your morality speaks through your actions and your decisions and everything. So I don't think of it as more of a commentary on just a system of economics, but rather the moral choices of people. And in this case, being influenced by extraterrestrials.
Mm.
And
you have the street preacher early on. This is why must we be driven by greed? That he's it's not the free market itself, but that people just becoming the consumerist kind of mentality and must buy all the. I love the fake TV commercials.
But
In
that,
this
that
are
that's so much of how life is in modern day 21st century.
Yeah.
You know, people are motivated by greed and screwing people over just to get to where they want to get to. You know, it's just
but that's been a critique of capitalism from the get-go.
Oh, yeah. This is
in
what
the
this is.
80s.
John
There's a reason you have
Carpenter.
Gordon Gekko, with greed is good.
Yeah. But this
Hey,
is
to,
a big middle finger. This is John Carpenter flipping the bird to capitalism.
Well, especially Reaganomics.
Yeah, because it was more for him. He, at least to my understanding, like he thought of it as capitalism gone to its worst extreme. Which look, anything like whether you are a capitalist or not, which I very much am. It's like capitalism, of course, can go bad, and there could be negative effects. Any good thing can be twisted and corrupted. And part of what's also interesting is, like, to my understanding, Roddy Piper and him didn't agree politically. Roddy Piper was more or less fond of Reagan, and very much to his credit, and very different from modern actors, would not speak on the film's subtext because he was like, "No, it's not my place. I'm acting here. I'm not here to tell people what to think."
Well, as a Canadian, he should stay in his lane. Really, it's American politics.
And
I think as a wrestler, again, he's a wrestler and he's doing his acting or whatever. And he's like, nobody's asking me. But if you're asking me about politics, why? I wrestle, I fake wrestle and I act. What possible contribution can I bring?
It's also hard to, to make these. The timing also was poor because this was just after a re-election with a 48 state landslide, which hasn't happened since. So it was kind of like going upstream, I guess, in a way, although a lot of Hollywood did in some ways. But it was kind of tough. But I still don't, for me, I think it's more of like the morality of the people and they're going along with this that is what troubles me. And then, the intent of, just all out consumerism, because the free market doesn't have to be that way.
True.
That's what I say. It's separate from your morals.
A quick catch up with the chat. Manuel Grill says Carpenter's curse was that he was too much ahead of the curve most of the time. This film as well, more relevant now than back then, and I agree with that. And just for you, Wayfarer, a bit of a comment for you here, mate.
Oh.
Rodent says he's pretty sure that you're secretly Sam Elliott.
What?
Oh my God!
You do kind of sound like him.
Really?
Yeah. You've got that sort of how can I put it? You've got a voice for ASMR.
Okay. Well, I was going to give that credit to you, my fine friend.
Thank you. Anyway, let's get back to the movie because we're digressing. But Nada, carries on walking. This is in LA. And we, as you mentioned, Jay, we've got the street preacher. And yeah, sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just with the delay and everything, it's hard to know when to squeeze in. But I was going to say that another cool thing, and we don't have to tangent on this, but you know how his name's Nada, like nothing? He comes in like the wandering fool from the tarot card deck. So he's like the fool in the tarot card deck, which is numbered 0, believe it or not. And it's like at the beginning of the hero's journey. So there's a lot of mythical symbolism in this.
Yeah, it's Carpenter likes dropping things in. He's a master of if you know, you know. And I like this to say this old preacher is virtually blind. He stares right at Nada and follows him. He tracks him, doesn't he, across his path?
Yep.
This is a Book of Eli, like several years later. This is what Eli's gone to.
Yeah.
And as usual, when anybody's stating the truth, the police turn up to enforce what they consider to be the status quo. Interesting shot of Cable 54. That is a bit of foreshadowing because Cable 54 plays a big part in the last act of this movie. And a lot of people are absolutely glued to the tube. They just can't take their eyes off it, some more so than others. And apparently that was John Carpenter having a dig at people who watch too much TV, couch potatoes, because they become so mesmerized with TV. They don't look around and see what's going on around them. And they just randomly and blindly follow everything the media chucks at them.
There's
And it's
a
true.
great so what I think it's the first TV commercial you see the gal talking about when I watch television I think I'm this and I'm wonderful and everybody loves me. It's about celebrity, which man is dead on for today. But
Yeah.
but that's also his commentary on people who just sit in front of the TV that they live their lives through it.
Yeah, some people
instead of
just sit
going and
and
living.
rot in front of the tube, and
Mm.
that's just so sad.
Yep.
Gap After Dark at, I always got to put that in because that's what that symbol means in ancient at. Teonas, if you know, you know. Obey, no independent thought, consume, conform, submit, marry and reproduce, surrender. You miss one out.
Yeah,
On money,
this is your God.
this is your God.
Yep.
And it's true. It's just, greed in this sphere, it's self-perpetuating because it's full of subliminal messages. But Nada's basically, he's a hobo without a shotgun. He'll get one later, though.
Oh yeah.
Especially when he's looking for some bubblegum. So he's sleeping rough, and he gets a job on a construction site. And this boss is a bit of an old hard ass, and he tells him, no sleeping on the site, get lost.
And put your shirt on.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments is because it's so accurate. Is when he says this is a union job, and he looks right over and he sees all these guys not working, just
Yeah.
and I'm like,
right.
it sure is.
Well,
May I please speak to the shop
steward, sir?
But he kind of inadvertently makes a friend. This is Frank. He's from Detroit, and he's working hard, sending money all the way from LA to Detroit for his wife and 2 kids. And he's basically saying to Nada, just keep your head down, keep quiet, and just, mind your business.
Well, this is the exchange where he's like, "Hey, I don't like nobody following me," and Roddy Piper's like, "Well, I don't go with anyone until I know where they're going." And he just kind of smirks. He's like, "Yeah, okay."
And he eventually goes with Frank to a bit of a shanty town where there's a church helping people out. And then we discover that Roddy Piper's got a pea fetish. Because she says, more, and he's like, yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Oh,
And there's more peas than anything else on his plate by the time he's done. Hector Gomez, who's behind him there, who's just getting a roll, there's no peas left for him. Sorry, Hector.
No.
It's all Nada's fault. There's nada peas, Hector.
No justice, no peas.
no peace in our time, SA. And yet again, people glued to the television. And the guy who's leant forward with his hands on his knees watching TV, it's George Buck Flower, who's been in so many films. And he was Brett the Hobo in Back to the Future.
He's in a lot of Carpenter stuff.
Yeah, I like that. Carpenter reuses a lot of character actors. And he uses them to great effect. But if you see there, I forgot the professor's name, but he keeps trying to jam into Cable 54's signal. Every time he does, he breaks the, how can we put it, the mesmo-vision. Should we call it that?
Yeah.
Because that's basically what it is. It's mesmo-vision. It's, people are entranced. They're so engrossed in TV, they're not looking around them. They've basically exchanged their reality. But every time this guy breaks into the signal, he hijacks it, pirates in. And people get headaches and they start feeling weird. And because the signal's been broken. And this guy, who's very prevalent during the film, he is kind of like the unintentional head of the resistance against the ghouls. He's with the professor. Because these lenses are called Hoffman lenses. So I wonder if that professor guy is Professor Hoffman.
Maybe.
I'm going to have to look that up. So basically, all night long, there's singing and prayers going out from this church. But we'll find out exactly how they managed to keep doing it without taking a break a little bit later on, which is quite amusing, really. Is it live or is it Memorex? We'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and the other thing
Memorex.
is, Roddy Piper, the reason he gets interested in this is he looks over at the preacher, and the preacher is mouthing
word for word, isn't he?
Yeah. Yep.
But he's also, when there's a break in the transmission, he also stops
Yeah.
and pauses just like the professor does,
Yep.
which is weird. But they're acting kind of sketchy anyway, so that arouses Nada's suspicion. Because yet again, typical hero can't mind his business. He just
Even though Keith David told him, and Frank said, just keep your
Oh,
head
yes.
down. Don't want to know. Yep.
Wow.
The lady in the employment center is Lucille Meredith.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. We'll have to have a bit of a look if I get a chance. We'll have a look back at see what some of the other stuff she's been in. Producer of the film, Larry Franco, is also in this film. He plays one of the gay neighbors of Holly, but we'll find out more about that a little bit later on. I just find that quite funny.
This movie was part of a 3-movie deal that Carpenter had. Prince of Darkness and this one, and he never made the third.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, this is weird.
Well, following up on the Hoffman lenses, it looks like, that's one of the two meanings is from this film, and they don't say where the name comes from there. But interesting side here is there is a company that was founded in 1978 called Hoffman Natural Eyewear, founded in Germany by I forget the name of the guy here, but
Mr. Hoffman.
Yeah, the last name's Hoffman. But anyway, the whole
Hoffman,
it was natural elements used in making it like horns and bones and things like that. So it was
the Google AI says that Hoffman lens is a reference to Dr. Albert Hoffman, who discovered LSD.
Really? That is such a good call. Nice one, Gord. I like that.
Funny how we're both looking at Gemini and we get two different answers.
So Nada goes sneaking around.
The next AI answer will be that it's Dustin Hoffman inspired it somehow.
Yeah, from the Marathon Man.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he took drugs during the Marathon Man, and that's why it all gets a bit headbendy.
Yeah.
Melvin says Larry Franco was Kurt Russell's brother-in-law. Wow, that's another good call, Melvin.
I think Kurt Russell was originally like who he was going to have play Nada, but he kind of figured I need somebody different than
too
Kurt.
close to Big Trouble in Little China. I think people would associate Jack Burton with Nada and get confused.
Yeah. So he did cast him like 3 times in a row. I think.
Yeah. You got Escape from New York. You've got The Thing, and then Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, Carpenter actually he went to at the time WWF. It was a WrestleMania. And saw Roddy Piper and saw him acting or whatever. And he was like, I want that guy. That was how he found Piper was at a WrestleMania.
It was interesting to know that Piper choreographed all the fight scenes in this film.
Yeah.
And he spent 3 weeks with Keith David practicing the fight scene.
Yep.
One of the longest fight scenes in Hollywood history. 5 minutes and 23 seconds. And I like how nerds like me, we know this stuff.
And it's those two in the fight. Right. That's why he practiced with him so long, is that it was, there wasn't going to be here. Let's cut to stuntman, cut to stuntman, cut to stuntman.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was supposed to be much shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to try and find the story that it's taken from. But I didn't get round to doing it. Has anybody read that 8 o'clock in the morning book?
No, but I'm going to.
Yeah, I really want to.
It's on my to-do list.
Yeah. That's why I've got so many Philip K. Dick books, because of movies.
Yep.
Like We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. That inspired, Total Recall, which is next week's show. There's more about that a little bit later on.
Dear.
So interestingly, while Nada goes sneaking around, he sees this on the wall. They live, we sleep. Which is true. It's basically, you've got to have that awareness in life. You can't lose everything around you because you've got your head in a TV.
And I like that it adds a layer to the title, because you look at a title like They Live and you see like the visage of these ghouls and whatnot. You kind of would almost get the impression that, there are monsters among us. That's what the title means. But it actually is saying something more, that no, they're getting to live lives and we're all just asleep. It's like, I like that it adds that layer.
Yep.
Hail to Ashen Prism in the chat. Thank you for joining us tonight, matey. Rodent says, don't overlook the fog. Christine Starman when it comes to Carpenter's greats?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we don't. We just don't mention that film with Mars in the title.
No.
Because that was bad.
Oh yeah.
Trust you, Sword in the Storm. Trev has a ton of dick books. Yes, Philip K. Dick books, you ding dong.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having a bit of a discussion. The professor, as we'll call him, Professor Hoffman for now, he's just saying he hasn't got enough power to break the signal, even though they're running an insane amount of power. And is that Gilbert? I'm sure that guy's name's Gilbert.
Yeah, it's Gilbert.
So that's Peter
Mhm.
Jason, if I remember right.
Yeah, that sounds right. He's also
Yeah.
in Prince of Darkness.
Yeah. Street Preacher grabs hold of Nada. Hey, come here. I want to feel your face. So
He's
he
also in Mortal Kombat.
really.
He's if you remember when Johnny Cage gets invited to the tournament by his martial arts master, that's him.
Oh,
Really?
He
We've got
actually looks pretty good, for his age at that point.
True. Thank you to Blue Collar Loser, super chatted us, $1.99. Some movies I never get bored of discussing. This is one. Hey, you've got great taste. Thank you ever so much. Really appreciate the super chats, guys. It's nice to be in a position where we can, start offering a bit more, if you know what I mean. Because somebody messaged me and said, will you be doing any private streams for channel members and stuff like that? And it just basically boils down to if there's enough interest, then I can't see why not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
private streams with a hot tub and champagne.
Yeah, maybe some hookers. Knowing my look, it'll be that's a position in rugby.
Or fishing hooks.
Yeah,
Fishing hooks, yeah, we could do Hellraiser.
yeah,
A hot tub full of peas.
yeah. We ought to do the
There
show from a hot tub one time. That'd be great.
call it the Peace Stream.
We'd have to do it in Vegas though, because that's the perfect weather to get your guns out, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the sun's always out in Vegas. So next day, Frank's having a bit of a chat. Interestingly enough, that guy is just in the credits as dad, isn't he? And that's daughter.
Yeah.
With George Buck Flower. He's going to be very, very important later on. A bit of foreshadowing there to look out for as well.
He's explaining some stuff right now that's pretty interesting.
He goes quite deep and rabbit holey.
Yeah, it's that there's some sort of cult down south, and they've been robbing banks and all that, which sounds an awful lot like what we just heard in the church. And he kind of dismisses, it's the same old thing, into every century. This is how people act, and
Yeah.
they're just afraid of change.
Yeah, so yet again, Nada's not listening to the advice Frank keeps giving him. It's like, man, just mind your business. He just can't do it. Just cannot resist. So anyway, he's looking around. Gilbert's moving some glasses with Dean, and these guys, they come into the fore a little bit later on, but it's very short-lived. But if you know, see this film, it's very much if you know, you know. And it's weird. It's almost like this film has a subversive fan base because it went under the radar, even though it made money. It made it made nearly $10 million at the box office in the United States alone. So what it made worldwide, as opposed to domestic, is anybody's guess.
Well, I guarantee it made a lot more money in home video.
Oh yeah.
But this was, the reason it made money is because, again, Carpenter knew how to make low budget movies.
This is one of this is one of the most sublime and quintessential VHS bangers from back in the day when we used to go and rent movies from video stores.
Absolutely.
God, I miss Blockbuster. For all its faults, I miss Blockbuster. So the shantytown gets raided, and it turns out that the cops are actually after the underground, the Hoffman Underground. Sounds like a band, doesn't it? Like Creedence Clearwater Revival.
I think we found a new band name.
I think I saw them play the Cow Palace in '81.
Nice. CBGB next. Is that it? CBGB, did I get that right?
CBGBs.
Yeah, they're there next week. So they're making a break for it, and the cops just come in and bulldoze this entire shantytown. And it's interesting because these aren't humans. We'll find out what exactly they are a little bit later on. Nada's very bemused. He wants to sort of stand his ground, but he realizes what the shanty town is the distraction, while the real focus of this attack, basically, they're getting swatted. The underground's being swatted for a reason. People try and resist, but these cops are just so hard-assed. They just beat the crap out of everybody with the nightsticks. There's helicopters, tanks, JCBs. The preacher and Professor Hoffman, they're giving some, how can I put it, some swift justice.
Yeah, they're making some religious appeals, but it seems like nobody's picking up that bone.
Yeah, it's falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
But it's a case of, if you open your mouth again, I'll split your skull open faster than you can say police brutality.
Well, there's a saying we have: when the batons come out, the parade begins. And,
Yeah,
and they
I like
just found
that.
out.
But if you look, the cops here look so fascist.
Yeah.
The professor's got
very
no chance.
robotic almost.
Authoritarian. It's like, we are the power, we are in control. And he finds this young kid, and Nada's just about to escape with him, but the cops. It's funny. I like how the cop car sort of like does what we call a handbrake turn over here. The sideways skid. I can't drive an automatic to save my life, so I don't know how you'd pull that maneuver off in an automatic. Any ideas, guys?
I mean, you could still pull the handbrake, to get yourself a power slide on it, right? Or if you have enough power, you just stand on the gas and let it throw the rear end around and then jam it.
Yeah, well, my car's gone into the shop at the moment. It's having some work done on it.
I wonder why.
No, there's nothing to do with
handbraking.
My car doesn't have an handbrake. It has an e-brake.
Oh.
So I cannot do any shenanigans like that. But it apparently there's a design fault on this particular brand of car, where after a certain amount of time, if you tow in and stuff like that, it screws the turbo. So my turbo's gone. But the hire car they've given us is a hybrid EV, also petrol as well, and it's horrid. I won't drive it. It's automatic, and I can't drive automatics. If I lived in the States, I'd have to have a stick.
Well,
the only way to
they do
drive.
exist here.
Yes, I know.
They do.
Yeah, they're mostly automatics they sell anymore. But I would suggest that, like, driving the highway, absolutely, 5-speed is great. In some of big cities, you really want an automatic because you will be sitting and burning your clutch.
It always makes me laugh when I see people taking driving lessons in America. How they like, they're like kangarooing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how the hell can you do that in an automatic? I just can't get, whether it's because I've been driving for like well over 30 years, I just can't get my head around that concept. It's like, how can you screw up driving an automatic? Anyway, I'm digressing again. We've gone down a rabbit hole. We're supposed to be talking about They Live, not cars. So Nada's found a little bit of a group, and he's kind of reassuring them and keeping them safe. Yeah. And there's a guy sat there. And he's
this scene actually kind of confused me a little bit the first time I watched it, because I was like, I thought, oh, they're pursuing these people, and like literally they can totally see Roddy Piper and this guy down that alley as they're going up the stairs, and I'm like, okay, they're going to be right behind them, and they never show up, and I was like, huh, that's weird. Why wouldn't they know where they are? Then when you watch it again, you're like, oh no, they're herding them away, so they are, like Goodwin said, the real target is the church and the underground group. They're just getting all the rest of them out of the way.
To set an example of who's in control. The ghouls have all the power, and they want to clearly demonstrate it to people. So people are more untrustworthy of the cops than they already are these days, because even the cops are starting to lose it out there these days. But next day, Nada just goes back out, and there's nothing left. The chair and the fire.
I think there is. I think the TV is still left.
Really?
Yeah,
I can't remember that.
I think the TV is.
So Nada goes back to the church. The wall's been painted over. Everything's gone or smashed up. But he's quite good. He's quite sneaky. Oh, hang on a minute. There's a secret hideaway there. So, like a wrestler, he kicks the little door in, and pulls a box out. And he's like, oh yeah, big score. Goes in an alleyway somewhere. And it's sunglasses.
Well, didn't he shut those in there earlier in the movie?
So he bumped into it and it
Oh,
opened
yeah,
and he
that's
saw
right.
the
Right.
boxes and then he closes it back up and
Right.
And that's when the preacher grabs hold of
gets
him. Yeah. So
But
he finds
I
the.
love he grabs the box and he starts to go out and there's like a cop car go by and he ducks back in and then he's like sneaking around with this box like, oh my, I've got my treasure or whatever. And he opens it up. It's just cheap sunglasses.
Yeah, but he just like walks out onto a busy street carrying it and then scuttles into an alleyway.
Yep.
And then he's hiding in the trash. So he sticks these glasses on. This is amazing. He gets to see the world for what it really has become for the first time. And it's a bit like Alice in Wonderland. He sees a sign for a computer store and it just says obey.
Yeah, I think it's Central Data Corporation, CDC.
I think I'm gonna add these clips to like a
CDC.
video. And
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna add these clips to a video, but it's gonna say stuff like and subscribe or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Please support my patron.
Yeah.
There we go. I
There's some
like
great
that.
matte painting work here.
There is. There's quite a lot of it too.
Yep.
And come to the Caribbean.
Marry and reproduce.
I wonder if that's a play on word. Come to the Caribbean.
Well,
the powers that be are not saying this anymore. They want to reduce the population. So
Yeah.
I don't want to go down that route. Not on this show.
Okay.
Let's look at the brighter side. Let's do what the TV says in this film. Let's take ourselves out of reality, if only for a little time, and just enjoy a great movie like this one. But as Nada goes down a busy street, he sees like no independent thought. He goes to a newsstand, and this is quite interesting because every magazine has some kind of subliminal message. Buy, do not question authority. Respect my authority. And then at the newspaper stand, this guy, he's sort of like, is he looking at me? And then he gets to see a ghoul for the first time, takes his glasses off, and he's like a businessman. And I always thought, these ghouls, what would be the point in buying a newspaper if they can actually see the subliminal messages? Obviously, they can't.
Well, I mean, they could probably read the actual news as well.
Yeah, that's a story for another time.
Well,
I do love that. Hey, buddy, I said, what's your problem?
Yeah.
I think that the ghoul identity is more of something just like deeper under the mind control.
Yeah, I wonder if it's almost like a soft analogy for a capitalist.
Well, you'll
it
still
absolutely is.
Yeah, well, you'll still follow the program, even though you're part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, God, this is great. Gord's put a good one in the chat. Only fans be like, no independent thought. Well, hey.
There we go.
I like that. Hello
And
to
we're
Gory
back to the hot
Tiger,
tub.
who's joined us in the chat. Also, Istophobos. And great having you on the channel last week, man. Did a really great job. Oh, look at that. You've got a laugh out of somebody there, Gord. Gap likes that
happy
one.
to provide.
Gap approves. So the guy at the newspaper stand, Nada looks at him, and then he sees the cash. This is your God. That is just so... That hits home, doesn't it, that?
Absolutely.
Because that's how people are with bits of paper.
It's even biblical. Funny enough, it's like you cannot serve God and money.
Well, it is also currency. It's like the electrical system for running the program in a way, because that's how you get people to do what you want them to do.
Right. That becomes the most important thing in their life. And again, it's the commentary on greed.
Yeah.
It does make me laugh a bit that the glasses enable him to hear that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really fun. I was like, what? How does that work? But
This is good.
It,
On every street corner, there's one of these devices.
Yeah, made
just
of Lego,
pumping out
apparently.
Yeah, it does kind of look like that. And here we go. This is like one of the best, coming up to one of the best scenes of the movie, because this is where we get our first go of Piper having a go at comedy. And then he looks at the TV and there's some guy trying to be elected into politics, and he's saying, we're tired of the same old cynicism. We're going to do something different. And he just looks at the screen and goes, yeah, I thought it'd be something like that.
Figured it'd be something like that.
Yeah.
And that guy on the TV is very much a stand-in for Reagan.
Yeah, definitely. And then like, oh, excuse me. You know, your head face looks like it dropped in the cheese dip in 1957.
1957.
Hey, you, get out. I said, call the cops. Call the cops? What you need is a Brazilian plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
And then she talks into her watch and says, I've got one that can see. But this old lady, she just takes it so well.
I don't like this, not one bit.
Yeah. Look, and she's a ghoul. I've got one that can see. And it's not just her radioing in.
Yeah, there's
I
a
love
whole
the
bunch
design.
of
There's
others.
something equally funny and eerie about the way they're designed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like everybody's on the watches because they're secretly a communication device. And everybody in the supermarket is just looking at Nada. And it's so freaky the way they do it because it's almost like the zombies.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's
you know,
like Night of the Living Dead.
That's obviously some kind of highly reflective material that's cupping the eye sockets.
Yeah, I think
Because it's got that reflection on it.
yeah,
almost
I think
like
they
the
use
Cartman
3M
glasses.
stuff. I think it's the 3M reflective tape that they use on like safety signs and things like that.
I'm almost looking, if I look close enough, will I see like a Colorado skyline?
Yeah, probably.
Like Cartman's glasses. These ghouls, they're really... the wigs are terrible on some of them, but they really are good. I mean, $3 million budget, and he pulls it off. He makes good use of what he's got. And then he sees a woman looking in the mirror, looking at her reflection in a window, and he goes, there, that's like pouring perfume on a pig.
Yep.
And then these cops arrive and shove him into an alley. And the cop says, where did you get those glasses? Tooth Fairy, I'll bet. And then he says, cut yourself shaving this morning, officer. Don't worry, you look as shitty to us as we do to you. And he like says, impossible. So he accidentally ends up killing these cops, grabs their gun and ammo, and accidentally walks into a bank. And then we come to one of the greatest lines in 80s cinema. I've come here today to chew bubblegum and to kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum. And then somebody goes, oh, some woman.
I love the little story I read about that line. Apparently, so like Piper being a wrestler, you know, one-liners and, you know, cutting promos are obviously an art. And he had like a little booklet where he wrote down stuff like that. And him and Carpenter went over it and they agreed this line fits this character great. So, yeah. It came from what could have been a wrestling promo.
Yeah, you never know. So Vince's loss is our gain in cinematic history. So nice one, Roddy. Rest in peace. A great wrestler and a great guy. Yeah. He was also in Highlander, the TV series as well. At one point played a bad guy.
Really?
But, also respect for refusing to take off his wedding ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not question authority. And then Nada just starts taking the ghouls out.
He's a shotgun marksman.
There's one bit where he's in an alley and this cop comes up to him and he like goes, you know, drop it. And he looks at him, he's human, and he tells him to beat his feet. So the guy runs, obviously. But he won't kill a human. And who are you, my little friend? Come to spy on me?
Come to tell them where I am. Not nice.
And then it's like when he sees the gun being raised, it like goes almost like a R2D2 type of affair. But that just looks freaky. That looks like those what are UAPs they're calling them now, what are flying around at the moment. Man. That's a story for another time. I
do love the fact that when he shoots that, pieces actually fall down on him.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking that when I watched it today. I was like,
no longer invisible.
They did that.
Yeah.
even though it's like it's funny that it's like, wow, he really doesn't care about giving away his position, does he? But oh well. It's like it's just for silliness.
Oh, great.
If there's one thing about the movie I probably would say I don't particularly like, it's her. I don't like her character.
Yeah, she's got freaky eyes, hasn't she? That's why she played Evil Lynn in Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, she's basically a plot. She's a massive plot device, basically.
So
she's a MacGuffin.
The first time I saw her is in the Osterman weekend with Roger Haar. And,
good point.
Yeah.
Istophobos has come out with a good one. He says this movie should have won Best Documentary at the Oscars.
Yeah.
I like it. Rodents come out with a factoid. The voice that's being pumped out is Carpenter's cameo, by the way. Nice one.
Oh.
I like that. I like a good factoid. So he grabs hold of Meg Foster, takes her prisoner hostage and gets her to drive him out, and there's just cops everywhere looking for Nada. But he's fatigued from wearing these glasses. He says, "Oh, it's all right while you're wearing them, but you come down hard." So he's trying to explain to Holly exactly what's going on. Anyway, we're just going to take a break and have a quick mention about our friends over at B-Sides.
B-Sides has movies so good, it makes you want to kick your TV.
Okay.
Live this Friday on YouTube and Rumble. Go check it out. They've got an otter.
Can confirm that you will want to kick your TV while watching these.
Hey, I'd tell you something. Babs did well a couple of weeks ago when they had the technical difficulty.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Smilex made a recovery, I see. So it's nice to see Smilex back up on his feet because he caught a bug, didn't he, of some variety?
Yeah, it got real sick.
Yeah. Holly does this really. She does like a wrestling move on Nada. She gives him the wine bottle to the back of the head.
A spinning back wine bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, and she just like knocks him straight out the window. But interestingly, like I said before, her neighbours are two gentlemen who like cuddling each other very much. It's California after all. And one of them is Larry Franco, one of the producers of this film.
Very nice.
Have we missed a set of slides here?
They're before this. It's when they're
it's all right.
first
I
coming
pressed
into
the wrong
her
button.
apartment.
So Nada sneaks back to work, and Frank's like, "How many people did you kill?" And he's like, "They weren't people." And he's trying so desperately hard not to lose his shit with Nada. So, oh look, there's pictures of him on the TV everywhere. A very young picture of Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
That's got to be a photo made in Canada. So he goes back in the alleyway, and the garbage truck has taken his glasses. So he gets the box, and then he just slides out the back of the thing.
Yeah, I love when it starts to raise. He's like, "Oh no!" And there he goes.
Yeah, but the garbage guy, he doesn't even notice he's dropped his load.
Nope.
Wow.
Which is bizarre.
Phrasing.
And this, we come into one of the highlights. This is an absolute perler. Frank says, "Yo, a week's wages, best I could do for you," and he just chucks the money at him. But Nada wants Frank to wear the glasses.
But
and
like,
then
did he throw the money literally in the box?
No, he threw it. No, he didn't throw it in the box. He just threw it at Nada.
No,
you know?
he throws it, and it lands in the like.
Yeah, I was like, because I
didn't notice
watched it today, and I was like, "Wow, good shot."
Yeah.
That is a great factoid. I like that. I did not notice that.
I wondered. I was like, was that an accident?
The amount of times I've seen this movie, and do you know, after the show, I'm going to rewatch They Live. Even though I watched it twice in the past week, I watched it twice, still didn't notice the cash going in the box. But this is the most choreographed fight scene in the history of movie. 5 minutes and 23 seconds long. It held a record at one time for the longest fight in a movie.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite fight scene overall, at least one-on-one, with a close number 2 of Cripple Fight in South Park.
Yeah, Cripple Fight is.
Jimmy! Timmy versus
And
Jimmy.
on aisle 5, we have Cripple Fight.
Well, we were monetized, thank you. So anyway, Nada finally gets Frank to wear the glasses, and he sees the ghouls for the first time. And I've noticed they're like overly lit to get a good reflection on those eyes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like you're saying, it's got that 3M reflective material like what they had on lightsabers. And on last week's show, the Kelvin characters were wearing those white 3M suits. But they were a pleasure to wear. So yeah, Frank gets a taste of the real world, and they book into it.
There's two things I loved about that. One is he goes, "It life's a bitch," and she's back in heat. The other one though is this is like the first time I remember in movies where like action movie type thing where there's a fight and then afterwards they look like they've been in a fight.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. Rodent says, "What gets me is when he swings the plank of wood and breaks the window and then realizes he's gone too far and tries to apologize."
Yeah, you never hit another man's car.
I also like the little laugh he gives after David breaks the bottle. because he
Yeah.
gives this little chuckle and then he gets tackled.
Yeah.
I think that was a mistake, and a genuine mistake on Roddy's part, but Carpenter left it in to give it that naturalness.
Hmm.
You know, to add a bit of realism to the story.
Mhm.
But Frank, it's amazing. The next day, they look perfectly fine. Must be a restless secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh
look at
no,
that.
you
They
missed.
bought a block of cheese.
You didn't do my favorite scene, which is the when Frank is asking the questions and Roddy's washing his face, and he turns and he's like, "Well, you come up with some master plan. You know, you let me know, huh?" And he has the craziest face because he has all the like swelling and the fake blood, but his eyes are like bugged out.
Yeah. He goes so Canadian in that scene. It's unreal. I love that. As someone who used to live in Canada, I've got a lot of love for Canada, especially Alberta. Well done to the Oilers. You did really well. Oh, well. So anyway, Gilbert bumps into Frank, and he tells Frank and Nada that there's going to be a meeting, a secret meeting. And this guy who looks like a biker dude is like, he does a thing where he pulls his eyelid down. And that's a bit of foreshadowing for what's to come.
He points at his eyes. He says, "There's something new going down."
Yeah. I think he's talking about the contact lenses.
Yeah.
So now the Hoffman lenses have been made into contact lenses, which have less interference, don't cause the fatigue or the headaches. So this is the worst acting of putting contact lenses in.
I mean, if you've never put in contact lenses, I can see why, they're struggling with it a bit. But yeah, it's definitely some overacting here.
Yeah. It's a bit hyperbolous but it all adds to the story.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
a lot of
that's
this
how it was
movie
then.
is, so.
Yeah.
That's
Gilbert
how it
and
was
Dean.
then.
Yeah.
I don't think they had the soft contacts back then.
Yeah, we
probably.
did. They were pretty expensive.
If you've got the cash, no problem. Anyway, we'll talk about medical care later. But Gilbert and Dean made it out of the church raid, and they've got some nice toys on there. And I noticed at one point, it looks like he picks up the gun from Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah, he also picks up the shotgun that the guy out front is holding.
Well, make use of what you got. And it's interesting. How did Holly know about this meeting?
Yeah, it's like she works for the station. She's coming off as, she's one of them. I thought in her line where she says, like when she's apologizing, says, I didn't know. And I was like, he had the glasses. You would know. How would he? It's like, wouldn't he realize then? It's like, oh, she's full of it.
Yeah.
Like that's why it's kind of, I don't like her. I find her character so distracting is because
she does
so much of what she
place.
does. Yeah, so much of what her character does is makes it so obvious that she's on the other side, and I'm like,
Yeah.
It's like,
Hail
yeah,
to Gamer in the chat. Nice to have you join us, mate. And also Alonzo Mosley. Thank you for joining, guys.
There is an explanation. So the when she hits him, the glasses are in her apartment. Right. That's why he has to go get another pair, because they're in her apartment. So the idea is that once she hit him and all this stuff, that she then put them on and realized what the truth is. That's the story she's selling, and he believes it.
Do you know what I think?
But then why would she know about this then? This meeting?
Well, this is the interesting thing. I think when she found Nada's glasses, she took a look at the world and went, hang on a minute. But she was brought into the fold. Because
I think she was already in the fold because
really, just by working at Cable 54.
Because she calls and she's like, no, I'm fine. Whatever, right? The conversation is not like the police inquiring and asking about different things, right? It's more like, are you okay?
Yeah. So all of a sudden, this place gets raided too. I wonder how they knew about that. Holly. And yet again, a squad of ghouls swat the place, and they just start taking people out. It's a bit of a valiant fight from the resistance, the Hoffman resistance.
Oh yeah, Gilbert doesn't last long.
Touring with CCR this summer. Yeah, Gilbert tries, but he doesn't last long. And I'm sure I've seen him in more than one other John Carpenter film. I think he might have been in that film that mentions Mars, What We Don't Talk About.
Oh no, we don't talk about
Oh
that.
no.
No, everybody deserves to make a bad film, and I think that was Carpenter's crowning pinnacle of a bad movie.
It qualifies.
Yeah, definitely.
I kind of
this is
like that most of
interesting.
these cops, like their faces are in shadow. I don't know if that's intentional or just the lighting at that particular moment,
I
but
don't know. I think that
it
might be
adds to kind of the faceless nature of their police force.
Mhm.
yeah, I think it's to punctuate the fact that they are actually ghouls.
Hmm.
But this is interesting. Frank's firing that little Uzi, and
Mhm.
Nada doesn't even flinch or blink or anything. Roddy Piper's hard as shit, I think. But that was the dad, wasn't it, from the daughter and dad around the campfire?
No, that's
Sure.
another guy that's in there. Yeah,
Right,
because that
just some other
the
guy. Okay. I thought it looked like him. Then the fight goes down this little alleyway, and this gets quite interesting because we learn a trick of the ghouls. But they've run all the right positions, and Frank and Nada are just taking everybody out. Obviously, they're not going to get killed because these guys are the two main guys, really.
Yeah.
So they start mucking about with that watch, and Frank just like it's almost as if he like goes, "I've had enough of this shit," and he just throws it over his shoulder.
Well,
then-
because he's playing with it, and Roddy Piper keeps going, Frank, and because the
And he goes,
police are coming,
"What?"
and then finally looks and goes, oh shit, and he tosses
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
a plot. It's a plot contrived hole. Maybe
Yeah.
a first.
True. I like that what you did there. Very clever. So anyway, it opens a portal up, and this gets where it gets quite interesting. So this watch malfunctions, and it says, "Oh, we'll open you an emergency portal. What will last for 20 seconds?" And that looks like a Folex, a fake Rolex.
yeah.
I like it. So yeah, this portal opens up, and Frank and Nada just jump straight in it, and then it's like that video game. Is it Backrooms?
Yeah.
So it goes very much like that. And there's one good scene, and I like how the EKG meter from Ghostbusters
Yeah,
is used
yeah.
to walk
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
the PK meter. Yep.
So
Mhm.
we see it in a past scene, but there's another scene with it a little bit later on. That's why it's not included in this part. But there's a thing here, welcome the human power elite. So all the people that have sold out to the ghouls are all being wined and dined. And look who's there. It's George
Oh.
Bookflower.
He's ready for his Academy Award. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. I once saw him in a film. It was a black and white one, if I remember. And he was naked, butt naked. And I felt hung after seeing him. If you know, you know.
Look, it
So
was cold.
So now he's a big shot in the human power elite. Last week, he's eating out of a garbage can. Now he's eating caviar.
Yeah.
Amazing turn of luck. And he says these guys use dimensional lensing or something and bounce light around.
Something about the gravitational lens or
That's
something.
it, yeah.
I loved it. Again, this is the one shot where we're like, okay, we're going to spend some money.
Yeah.
In this again, it's the clever use of budget to be able to tell the story and still be
Yeah,
effective.
like we mentioned earlier, good use of a matte painting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is a good one. Right.
If I remember right, the actual them shooting off or whatever was actually done by a Disney animator.
Really?
Mhm.
That's interesting. Like, why is this screenshot not loading? Let me go back one. There we go. There we go. So he gives Frank and Nada a tour, and they end up, funnily enough, these back rooms lead straight into the control area of Cable 54.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, yeah, I think I can swing it. These boys are good friends of mine. Oh, can we go in there? Don't be serious. Oh, look, there's Gloria. Hello, Gloria.
Hi, Gloria.
So anyway, they do a bit of a switch and start shooting these guards. Nada grabs George's, we'll call him George the hobo just for now. But he grabs George's little goatee beard and he drags him around and he's like, oh, he makes this little noise like he's getting dragged around.
Yeah, his voice suddenly gets very high, and all of the guttural sounds goes away.
Yeah.
I like his little speech he gives them, kind of justifying his act, because it's like, it's understandable.
It's just
He's not
business.
wrong. A lot of people
Yeah.
would do exactly what he did.
And that's exactly the capitalistic business mentality. That's their mindset. It's only business. You know, it's
Yeah.
very Wayland-Yutani. I think Wayland-Yutani is another metaphor for corporate America.
Well, and if you look at like the life that Buck Flowers is living when he's on the streets or whatever, it's like we just a taste of the good life. Come on, it. Everybody wants it. That he's absolutely pitching the appeal of being successful and all that. That's the end goal, right?
He's
That is
given
the
in
most
to the
important thing.
greed, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Like most people, if
Yeah.
you wave a wad of cash at people, 9 times out of 10 they're going to take it.
Yep.
Because cash and morals are very easily separated.
Mm-hmm.
Frank's got a hand grenade. I wonder what he's going to do with that. He does that. He blows the bloody doors off. I like how that guy's just stood there. It's like, yeah. In fact, let me just go back a slide. He looks like a guy on a cologne advert from the 70s.
Yes, yeah.
He's holding up well.
In fact, I rewatched one of my guilty pleasures, Speed Trap, starring Joe Don Baker. Anybody remember that film?
No,
I've not
I
seen that.
don't believe I've seen that, but I have seen some Joe Don Baker movies. Ooh.
Yeah, Joe Don Baker and Tyne Daly. And it was recorded, it was the CBS Wednesday night movie.
Of course.
And it's got all the adverts in it from like the 70s. From 1978, there's all these adverts and everything. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I'll have
that
to
guy.
send you a link.
The couple walking immediately reminded me of a Stetson ad.
Yeah.
From the TV.
Well, this
Stetson
guy, this
cologne.
ghoul, the look on this ghoul's face, he looks like he needs to take a crap.
By the way, Joe Don Baker only recently passed away.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Last month.
And his last sort of big roles, he was in. He was the Felix Leitner character in the Bond movies, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in a really good movie with Matthew McConaughey called Mud. I do recommend that. That's a good kind of coming of age type movie. I liked it.
He was a good actor, but he wasn't leading man material, I'm afraid. You've got to have that certain je ne sais quoi. There we go. We've gone a bit upscale. So
Okay.
Frank and
I like him in the Bond movies, though.
yeah, he was all right. I've always liked the character of Felix. So Nada and Frank, I keep wanting to call him Keith. Never mind. He's had a fantastic voiceover career, Keith David.
Yeah.
His credits for voiceover work.
My favorite gaming trilogy of all time, Mass Effect. He's one of the big roles in that. He's awesome.
Yeah, he was also in Halo as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched a video of him recording the lines, and he was doing his lines with Michelle Rodriguez and a couple of others, to name a few. So anyway, they wreak havoc through Network 54. But, humans get a pass.
Yeah.
They've got a hall pass. But if you're a ghoul, watch out. There's even a touching scene where Nada asks a pregnant lady about Holly. And the girl's obviously or almost like her waters are going to break. But he's very kind and gentle with her. I like that. It just shows you, he's got sympathy for humans because we're all in the same boat. And here's the scene with the PK meter as a walkie-talkie.
Do you think that Cable 54 is kind of a semi-reference to Club 54 because it had all the celebrity clients?
There wasn't enough Peruvian marching powder.
Do you mean Studio 54?
Studio 54.
Yeah.
Studio. I thought there was also a Club 54 as well.
No, I think unless you did mean the place in New York with all the celebrities and the disco dancing.
May have been. I might.
That's Studio 54.
Yeah,
I remember the channel 54 I had was PBS, so it couldn't be
yeah. PBS.
Okay, there is a Club 54, but it's reference. Club 54 references Studio 54, which actually, that would be the more direct reference to this is Studio 54.
It's still a good call, though. Any factoid's a good factoid. And he says, I think they're on the floor above, and they've got obviously the same PKE meter. They only had one. And it's cool how a lot of cheap films have props that are from bigger movies.
Yep.
I watched one recently, the last sort of coherent film that Jean-Michael Vincent did, and where he was consistently drunk all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And they reused all the uniforms from Starship Troopers, which just made me laugh. I can't remember the name of the film.
I like that their camo is the black, white, and gray look, which
Yeah, the
kind of
urban
matches the look
camo.
of the glasses. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think that's to highlight the black and white.
Mhm.
It's just yet again, it's John Carpenter punctuating the fact that the goals and Holly takes Frank out like a machine.
Yep.
She's merciless. There's just
Hmm.
no emotion on her face at all.
Nope.
Just bang, and that's the last we see of Frank. Up on top of the Cable 54 building, there's the uplink dish, what's sending the signal out. And he says, "Are you clear, Holly?" "I'm clear." She goes a
Are
bit
you?
freaky in voice too, doesn't she, at that point?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Atom Gray's joined us in the chat as well.
Oh,
Hello,
no.
Hello, Atom.
Yeah.
There's a smoking ghost. Also, hello to Psyche Electroacoustic Opera Company. I like that. That is a great name for a band too.
Well, we actually we did call ourselves that. That's my wife, by the way. And
All right.
that was our electronic music performance group.
All right. I like that. Well, great minds think alike, Jay.
Absolutely.
I thought, good name for a band. You'd already done it. So the powers that be and the forces try and take out Nada. And he's like, his last words are F it. He's still carrying a little gun he had up his sleeve. And he takes out the Holly, then the uplink dish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing he pulled that gun off the table in the hideout earlier.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if I was him in this scenario, I'm like, y'all go ahead and shoot me. I'm right next to the satellite. You'll probably hit it, but
do you know that looks like a tube right out of the Genesis device? It was.
So this thing has been used a lot, and I can't remember the name that Apex people use for it, but it's basically like the ultimate device or something like that because it's been in a ton of movies.
Yeah, I like how production houses and studios have nicknames for things. Like ILM's model department come up with Greeblies.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that. Anything to do with ILM, and I'm there. I have such fascination for that company.
Yeah.
So Nada takes out the uplink, and this is quite good. Fair enough. The ghouls take. It's funny. He's not a ghoul at that point, so I think the signal had not fully dispersed because you get to see it come out as a beam from the top of Cable 54.
Yep.
This is just class.
Last act of defiance.
Oh yeah, this is just fantastic. He flips the bird. He's dying, but he flips the bird.
Yeah.
So anyway, chaos ensues, signal down, and then it's, go on, do the line. You know you want to.
Gloria, you look like shit.
Oh, that is just class. Just absolute class.
Oh,
and then,
what was that Steve Martin line that is similar, but like something, you filthy whore, Diane? Or was it?
Oh, no, are you
yeah.
talking about Jane, you ignorant
Jane,
slut?
you ignorant slut?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So
yeah, is it this one where they have the TV and it's like the Siskel and Ebert complaining about people John Carpenter and George Romero.
Romero, yeah.
Yeah. He's very intentionally trolling them with that. Yeah, he is.
And I just love the girl at the bar, the look on her face. It's like,
what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has no idea.
And there's another lady at the background, and that guy who kind of looks like Dr. McCoy in profile. Yeah. He's taken aback too. But you've got to obey the hot sauce. I just love that. On the hot sauce, it says obey. And this is the line of the show. Hey, baby, what's wrong? He says it so pimp-like.
Yeah.
Oh.
Anytime anybody mentions They Live or I see any clip from it or whatever, I immediately have the theme song going on in my head.
Oh, do you know, another John Carpenter score with help from Alan Harworth.
Alan Harworth.
Yeah. And Alan Harworth did the warp sound effects in Star Trek: The Motion Picture. You know when they fix the engines and Spock and Scotty and everybody are just stood there, and you hear that progressive sort of like winding up noise.
Yep.
That was done on a Prophet 5 by Alan Harworth. Wow, there we go. Wayfarer, you get that reference.
Yeah, I understand it.
Sequential.
I didn't know about it, but that's great.
Alan Harworth has a huge career in sound design.
I'm pretty
sure, didn't he do Jurassic Park, the sound design for that?
He did the T-Rex sound effects, didn't he,
Yeah.
for Spielberg?
Yeah,
Mhm.
and
He's almost like a stealth version of Ben Burt.
yeah,
And Ben Burt, yet again, another great guy in the world of sound design. I mean, he practically created the universe of Star Wars by sound effect.
mhm.
Mhm.
Did
I mean,
such
the
a
TIE
fantastic
fighters,
job.
you can't replace that. It's
Yeah,
just
but
like,
that's an elephant and a car skidding on
yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Y-
I
y-
loved when they sent him to White Sands Missile Range to get recordings of the missiles going, and they were all crap. And he ended up recording the dysfunctioning air conditioner in his hotel room instead. It was
Yeah. Oh, and the Wilhelm scream, the most used sound effect in Hollywood now. Every film has, there's no need for it.
Yeah, it's a
no,
little bit overdone.
It's become like fast food now. You hear that sound effect, and you just go, and everybody's saying it. People who don't even work in the industry, they go, oh, the Wilhelm scream, and they roll their
that's
eyes at it now.
yeah. It's it started as an Easter egg for people in the know, and then it just became so ubiquitous. Everybody
Yeah.
knows it, and it's like, okay, pick something else.
It's like they've ruined the joke for nerds
Yeah. Yep.
and done it in such a way where everybody knows.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Emmanuel Grill says, wow, 1 hour and 18 minutes for this movie. Well,
Oh,
we're not-
trust me, I could go about 5 hours on this movie if we needed
Well,
to.
we could,
Yeah.
but we're going to wrap up a tiny bit earlier today. But thank you to not Brian for doing the slides. Did an incredible job.
Oh, wow.
As usual.
Well done.
And I like how Titus and Nuns Chuff, is it, in the chat? Always gives him a shout, and I love that.
That's
Every
what you should.
time, great work with the slides, Brian. And thank you. I'm going to echo that sentiment as well. But yeah, I absolutely love this film. This is like one of Carpenter's what's completely gone under the radar.
Mhm.
Yeah, it and Prince of Darkness, again, the two movies he did under this deal are both really they're good watches. They're cult classics, and criminally underrated and underseen.
Mm.
Mhm.
And the weird thing is, it's a short film as well. An
Yeah.
hour and 34 minutes.
It doesn't mess around. It is the story is going to get told. We are not going to linger too long in any one thing.
Except for the fight.
The fight might be the only one, right? And even then, that's part of the greatness of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, you go right through, and there's no real fat you could trim on this.
I found an interesting quote from John Carpenter, which has already been pointed out. But he says, the picture's premise is that the Reagan Revolution is run by aliens from another galaxy.
Yep.
Free enterprises from outer space have taken over the world and are exploiting the Earth as it's a third world planet. As soon as they exhaust all our resources, they'll move on to another world. And it's true.
The alien presence has been longer than that.
Oh, you got to be, yeah. Oh,
it
yeah.
just happened in the 80s.
Maybe their power just took a little while to manifest.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to discover Ray Nelson's 8 o'clock in the morning. Because, yet again, is he another Philip K. Dick by accident?
Maybe.
Yeah, somebody earlier in the chat, somebody said something about he was involved with baseball.
Really? I did not know that. Apparently, for the role of Nada, and we touched on this briefly before, John Carpenter cast Roddy Piper, whom he met at WrestleMania 3 the year before in '87. For Carpenter, it was an easy choice. He says, unlike most Hollywood actors, Roddy has life written all over him. Carpenter was also impressed with Keith Davis's performance in The Thing and needed someone who wouldn't be a traditional sidekick but could hold his own. And that is true.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, they both have great presence, and they both look like proper working men.
Yeah, like your average, well, not your average Joe, but like you
A
say,
little bigger than your average Joe, but
yeah, but the everyday working guy.
Yeah, I mean, when the street preacher grabs Roddy's hands, and Roddy's got some big hands, and feels him, he's like a working man, right? That you can see why he would come to that conclusion.
Yeah, because his hands are like concrete, probably.
Yeah.
It took 8 weeks to film this during March and April in 1988. Principally shot in downtown LA with a $3 million budget. I mean, that is well done.
Is this the one where the alley when they were shooting the alley thing that people were throwing like bags of urine?
I don't know about that, but I did sort of hear a story similar to that. So there might be a bit of truth in all of them. But it's,
bags of peas.
Yeah, peas.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. That's why they had so much to give Roddy there at the.
Oh, apparently the fight scene, Roddy Piper got his inspiration from the movie The Quiet Man. You know where
Yeah.
John Wayne's having that fight with Victor McLagan?
Yeah, where it's like
That's
half the movie.
Yeah, that's where Roddy Piper got the inspiration for it.
That's great.
Well, they knew they needed to do something like that because he's known as a wrestler, and they wanted to have make use of that talent and the choreography. And I think it was almost just like having a special moment emphasized there. So it worked.
Yeah, and I think the thing. I mean, there's some ridiculous things, where he's suplexes and things like that. But the one thing that the fact that it's not just one punch and you go down, because unless you're a glass jaw, that's not how fights go. And a lot of stuff, and a lot of it is ground fighting. And then okay, I think I'm done. The guy gets back up, and attacks you again. All of that there's a realism to that that was missing from a lot of the 80s action movie type fights. So much of it would just be walk up and hit somebody once and that's the end of it.
Almost like an A-team fight.
Yeah.
At least they didn't do the figure 4 leg lock.
Yeah, that's exactly,
but he does do a suplex.
Yep.
If it was Roddy, he would do the sleeper hold, because that was his move.
There you go.
I wonder if under those jeans packed in there was a kilt.
Probably.
Or tartan underwear.
That was actually up his sleeve. It was once you pull the pistol out, then you can also pull the kilt.
Yeah, it's not the same without the bagpipes.
Yeah.
Apparently, they tried to make a remake of this movie with Carpenter being a producer. In 2011, Matt Reeves signed on to direct and write the screenplay. But interestingly enough, the focus of the film shifted away from They Live and ended up being a readaptation of 8 o'clock in the morning. But as of now, it still hasn't been produced. So it's in production hell. We don't need a remake.
Nope.
And I don't think this film needs a sequel either.
Nope.
I think if the book is substantially different or something like that, just calling it 8 o'clock in the morning and doing it that way would be fine, in the same way that they're redoing The Running Man, but by every indication they're trying to actually stick to the book instead of the ridiculousness of the movie. If they did it that way, it would be fine. But if you're just remaking They Live, don't. They already made it, and you're not going to do better.
Yeah.
No. Just in the chat, Rodent says Predator 2 had the same when they were filming in alleyways and people living in the buildings were throwing poop out the windows at the crew.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like, hey, quit stealing my moves.
I know LA is hell, Hell-A, as they like to say. No offense, guys, to your country, because your country has some wonderful places to go. But LA and Seattle,
not one of them.
California.
I would not. No, California. I'd probably risk San Diego.
Yeah, I've been to San Diego.
And I'm kind of hankering to visit Carmel, just because I'm a Clint Eastwood fan.
Mm-hmm.
Up on the North Coast.
And Pebble Beach and all that, and Monterey.
Yeah, and I'm kind of envious. My parents did the whole Vegas to San Francisco tour years and years ago. It wasn't long after I got married to my first wife.
Well, I lived in Northern California for 4 years. I worked in Silicon Valley, and so
really,
yep.
Do you have any stories to tell about your adventures in Silicon Valley?
I probably a number. I worked at Netscape and I worked in Intel.
Oh my God! Are you in that documentary, Code Rush?
No, probably not. But we damn sure. Captain Crunch was definitely always coming to visit us because we had to crunch a lot. Oh
God, Mr. Draper, we bow down in front of you.
Yeah, I love. If you ever watched the AMC series *Halt and Catch Fire*,
I haven't.
That you should. It's basically like start of the home computer industry, all the way through to like the .com era. Done different seasons or kind of different sections of the tech life and that.
I met John T. Draper once.
Really?
Yes. In 1993, I think it was, at a rave. Because he was big on the rave scene.
Yeah.
And obviously with me doing DJing back in the day, and I'd recognised him. And I'm like, there's Captain Crunch there. And everybody's like, what are you on about? And I went, that's John T. Draper.
Yeah.
I'm like, he's like the biggest freaker.
Yeah. 2600 hertz.
Yeah. The Captain Crunch whistle, that's where he gets his nickname from.
Yep.
And
that's where 2600 magazine came from.
And it all started with a blind kid called Denny who got Captain Crunch into lots of trouble. Because the blind kids figured out the AT&T tones, didn't they, first?
Yeah. Yeah, I was a kid. He was just obsessed. I mean, I'm guessing he may have had a bit of the tisms, but yeah, he was obsessed with the phone company and started figuring out, the tones.
Yes.
And all
Marbell
that.
was not impressed.
No,
I grew up a prank caller.
Hey, I can't fault you one bit.
I had a whole
In fact,
I had a 3-ring binder of all these phone numbers we like to call.
I had a 1-800 directory that we used to on weekends in high school. People would come and like watch us call and play different characters or do pranks. I mean, we were on calls for like 30 minutes at times with people. Yeah.
Okie dokie. I'm just looking through the chat to see if Emperor Goodwin. In fact, I could just do with you saying hello in the chat, if you don't mind, Emperor Goodwin.
Oh, let me do that.
If you could accommodate me with your Silicon Valley skills.
Mm.
Did you work for Max Zorin by any chance?
I mean, I consulted with the plan, and I told him, I'm not sure this is going to work.
So, do you know Jamie Wazinski then?
Name isn't familiar.
Really? He was the project manager for Mozilla.
No, so I was in the rapid prototyping group in at Netscape. So the marketing department would come up with things. I would then work with the team. But by the way, I was the person they had to talk to because they made the mistake of talking to a couple of other guys on that team who very much had Asperger's and would say exactly what they thought about marketing's ideas. And
so were you there when Jim Barksdale was CEO?
Yeah. Yep. I was there. So I was there when we did the deal with Sun and put together. So we were going to do a software team that was working with Sun. So Sun would basically take some of their coders, Netscape would take some of theirs, and then they would spin out applications or whatever. We set that up right around the time that AOL decided to buy us. At which point, I got the hell out.
I got it in my head. One of the project leaders for Mozilla, his mother worked for Sun, or was it Oracle? It was a tall guy, balding, long hair, always wore a cap. I can't remember his name. If you go onto YouTube and look up for a documentary called Code Rush, and it sort of follows the story of when, oh gosh, what was it? Not Netscape, when Mozilla was launched officially.
Mozilla was always the kind of the internal name for the browser itself. But then when AOL bought Netscape, the lead it wasn't Andreessen because he'd already decided to get out. But the lead coder for that, then they decided they were going to set up a open source version because that was the hotness at the time because of Linux and all that. And then they took that and turned it into Firefox.
Oh dear. You mentioned crank calls.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. Tom Slick says in the chat, can I get Amanda hug and kiss? I got my boss, because I work at a radio station, and I got my boss with a prank text. He didn't realize it was my number, and he does like a guess the song. He plays a couple of beats from a song, and you've got to guess what the song is, basically.
Right.
So I sent, because I knew what it was, because I looked on his playlist. Because my show is before his. So I looked on the playlist, right, that's the song for today. I'll send a text, and the name was D. Pinner.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
And he read it out, and he didn't twig till after. And then when the penny dropped, he was hella mad, but he did it on air, which was great fun. I was the talk of the office that week. He's getting fired. No, he's not.
The one my dad taught us was ask the person with the intercom to page Michael Hunt. Goes by Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
That is an absolute classic. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you guys, because like I say, I need to wrap things up a little bit early tonight. Thank you for participating. Gord King, pleasure as always. Nice to have you on the channel again, hopefully sooner rather than later. Wayfarer Project, loving the kilt. You look very, very Piperish.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm getting back to my young, youthful days.
Oh, bloody hell. Well, we all do, don't we? We're all getting old now. Apart from Gord, I think he's the youngest shaver in the room.
Possibly, but not. I'm probably much older than you think.
I think you're sub 35.
Oh, that's so nice.
Am I wrong?
Yep.
Oh. I'm glad I don't sound my age. People say I sound about 14.
Yeah, I get told all the time I sound like I'm in my 20s, 30 at the oldest, and I'm like, you all are so
in fact,
nice to me.
I mean this as a compliment. Don't take it any other way, but you sound like a young Eric Stoltz.
That's fine. That's fine.
Would you agree, guys?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah.
And Emperor Goodwin, have you checked your wrench status lately?
Let me see.
I was trying to wrench him on the Wayfarer project for months, and it never worked.
Look at
really?
that. I am, in fact.
Welcome, Emperor Goodwin, who's now a wrench on the channel.
Oh,
thank you. Right, I'm going to call it at that. So thank you guys for joining me. I'm just going to silence you temporarily. So thank you, Jay. Thank you, Gord. Thank you, Wayfarer. And I'm looking forward to next week. You're going to love this. Next week, it's Paul Verhoeven's 1990 classic, Total Recall.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
I'm not. We've got a very special panel lined up for next week. Hit that bell and subscribe so you don't miss out.